What is going on, Pats Nation? It's Patriots Global here, back with another video, and in this one, we finally have some positive news surrounding the New England Patriots. I mean, this entire season has been ups and downs, from positive moments to extremely negative moments, and it seems like the past week has mainly just been negative here. But to spark things up for you guys just a little bit, Julian Edelman, the Patriots wide receiver, has returned to practice for Week 15 of the NFL. Now, obviously, if he is activated, he will only be playing about 3 games. He'll be playing in the game against the Jets, in the game against the Dolphins, and the game against the Bills. So again, all within our conference, all within the AFC East. And I'll get into my thoughts on this in a little bit, what exactly this means for the Patriots, and does this even mean anything at this point? Is this a smart move to bring Jules back? And it's been a long time since we have seen Julian Edelman take the field. He was placed on the injured reserve all the way back on October 31st with a knee injury. And he ended up having a knee procedure in late October also, so something that he ended up actually having surgery on, and it was more of a cleanup within his knee, something like Sony Michel had just recently gone through. And obviously over the past couple of seasons, this has been something that has really highlighted Julian Edelman. He has been used more the past 2 seasons than I really think that we can say he has throughout the entire of his career, really, because the Patriots at the wide receiver position, specifically this season and last season, have been extremely thin, lacking that depth. There really is no guy outside of Edelman that was going to take the Patriots to the next level, so they were asking him essentially to do everything. He got extremely injury prone this year and last year. Last year, he should have been on season-ending injury reserve, but he decided to play through it, play through the injury, play through the pain, and played every single game for the Patriots, including that one playoff game that they lost against the Tennessee Titans. Then they just kind of let Jules rest up for the offseason. He came back, didn't perform all that much within training camp. You could tell that they were really trying to take it a little bit more easy with Jules, just because they knew that he was having this injury during the season, something that he was pushing. And again, realistically, he should have been on injured or season-ending injury reserve. So the fact that they did not put him on that just went for the fact of they got to be careful with him. And you might be asking yourself, well, okay, what made this year different than last year? And one, I think that this injury was just bothering him a little bit more than it was being given credit for. We heard that Edelman was trying to push through this injury, but he really was dealing with a lot of pain. And when you're as old as Julian Edelman is, which is 34, and let's keep in mind that he's a wide receiver in the NFL, so 34 in the NFL as a wide receiver is like 60 in regular people days. And they already pushed him last season, so if they just continued to push him through these painful injuries, Julian Edelman's career was just going to be done before we knew it. And I think that Edelman wants to continue to play on. I know that you're going to hear rumors about him retiring this offseason, but I don't see him leaving on the note that he did this year, last year. And if Jules wants to continue to play in the NFL for a few more good seasons, he's going to have to be careful. This year for 2020, Belichick really just decided to bite the bullet, whether it was players, whether it was cap space and all the dead money that they had to take on. Let's remember that the Patriots could have taken some of the dead money that they had for this season and moved it on into the future. But Belichick said, you know what, I'm going to bite the bullet for 2020. Due to COVID reasons, the season's going to be weird anyway. We lost Tom Brady. Let's just take all of the crap that we need to all in one season. Let's not stretch it out beyond what we have to. And I think that's essentially what they decided to do with Edelman. Of course, losing him was big for the Patriots. There's definitely been times where they really could have used a guy like Julian Edelman to take them to the next level. But we did see a few weeks prior to him being placed on the injured reserve that his usage was going down. He was not looking like the same Jules. He had some issues with dropped passes. You could tell that he was scared to get hit by defenders. And I think that Belichick was just looking at as an aspect of more so for the future, but also as an aspect of, well, look it, you know what? I'm not expecting us to go much of anywhere in 2020. If for some reason we're able to win games and get to the playoffs, then Jules will be in a position for him to come back come playoff time. Obviously, the Patriots not lucky enough to get within the playoffs this year. Now, so far this year, Jules has only appeared in a total of 6 games in which he was a starter in just one of those games, surprisingly. He was targeted 39 times, which is kind of surprising, just 39 times, but for 21 receptions, 315 yards, averaging 15 yards per reception, but 0 touchdowns. They also did some end-arounds with him at times, gave him the ball as a running back in which he had 2 rush attempts for 22 yards, but that also did not score him a touchdown. And honestly, a big reason why those statistics are as high as they are, 15 yards per reception, putting up a little bit over 300 yards, really spans from that Week 2 game against Seattle where Jules just went off. In that game, he was targeted 11 times, 8 receptions, 179 yards, a career game for him, averaging 22.38 yards per reception. But you look at the other games he played. Week 1 against the Dolphins, targeted 7 times, 5 receptions, 57 yards. You look at Week 3 against the Raiders, 6 targets, 2 receptions, 23 yards. Against the Kansas City Chiefs, 6 targets, 3 receptions, 35 yards. Against Denver, 6 targets, 2 receptions, 8 yards. And then the final game against the 49ers, just targeted 3 times, 1 reception, 13 yards. So you can kind of see what I was saying as weeks kind of continued to go on, especially a couple weeks prior to him being placed on injured reserve. He was not putting up much production, and hauling in passes, dealing with that dropping issue, was definitely a concern with Jules. Now, what this means for the Patriots is that they have a 21-day span to actually activate Julian Edelman off of the injured reserve. So while he did return to practice, this does not mean that he was going to play this week against the Miami Dolphins. So don't get your hopes up too much. We'll have to see when the Patriots activate him, if they decide to activate him. Let's keep in mind there's only 3 weeks left here in the NFL season. But we've seen before that Belichick has brought guys back, and then that week, they weren't activated. Now, if Jules is not activated within that 21-day period, he will be reverted back to the injured reserve, in which he will spend the rest of the season on IR. Again, only 3 games, so really doesn't mean all that much. And honestly, me personally, while I love Jules, he's easily one of my favorite Patriots of all time, and obviously currently too. Don't rush him back. I don't want to see anything happen to Jules. Honestly, I'd be okay with keeping him on injured reserve the rest of the season, kind of just letting him really and truly heal up so that when the offseason comes along, he can be ready. But more specifically, the start of next season, he will be ready, because 2021, that is the season I'm looking forward to at this point. Honestly, I've been looking forward to 2021 even last offseason. I kind of figured the season wasn't going to really promote to all that much. And we're really going to need Jules for next season rather than this season, when we have a 2% chance of winning, or not winning, but getting into the playoffs. And at this point, it's not the Patriots. It's the Patriots having to rely on every other team. So if the Patriots want to get in the playoffs, they have to win out every single game, and they have to rely on all these other teams to win/lose games. It's just not going to happen. The Patriots aren't going to make the playoffs. Jules coming back really isn't going to matter unless the Patriots are just like, hey, let's win out the season for pride. Obviously, Julian Edelman coming back would tremendously help the Patriots. I don't think that's anything that any of us are denying here. While Jules was gone, there definitely was guys that stepped up. Jacoby Myers, Damiere Byrd. Last week, we saw N'Keal Harry step up. And I think that was super beneficial for this wide receiver core. But again, let's just not push Julian Edelman to come back in a sense when we don't really need him to. Look, I get it if we're fighting for something. We're fighting for Super Bowl. We're fighting for playoffs, but we're not fighting for any of that. We're just riding out the rest of the season and then going home after week 17. So what's the point in pushing a guy that's 34 and has been dealing with injuries the past 2 seasons? And real quick, guys, NFL football does continue on this week, which does have a few surprise teams at the top of the standings. And you might not be able to be at a game this year, but you can still be in with all the action at BetOnline. Now, no matter how schedules change or players that play, BetOnline is going that extra mile to make sure that you get in on every game imaginable this season with the fastest updated odds in the industry. And there are always more options to wager than anywhere online. All you have to do is head to BetOnline today and take advantage of all of their great midseason bonuses, offers, and contests. Again, that is BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. Now, to piggyback a little bit on what I just said, Another guy that has returned to practice, outside linebacker Shalik Calhoun. Nothing too major to talk about here. Look, I think things are a little different when you're going to talk about Shalik Calhoun versus Julian Edelman, and that's just a factor of Edelman doesn't really have anything to prove at this point, but I think Shalik does kind of need to come back and prove, hey, you should extend me again, or hey, another NFL team should come on and sign me. So I definitely would not mind seeing Shalik back, but as for Edelman, I just wouldn't push it. But that's going to be it for today's video. What are your guys' thoughts on Edelman and Shalik Calhoun returning to practice? Let me know in the comment section below. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for all of your New England Patriots news. But like always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.